Hello and welcome back to Pixel Perfect Season 2. My name is Okada, and today we are picking up pretty much right where we left off in the last episode, though we are a little bit away from the hub because we are collecting up a whole bunch of fuel. You see, today we are going to try to do something that wasn't really that feasible back in early access, which is that we are going to take on a fairly major project, in this case, our early game iron production, probably some copper production as well. And almost certainly we're going to run back and throw a miner on that Caterium node. We really want to get at least a little bit of quick wire coming in because we're desperately want to get those Mark II power poles up and running. You know, I really wasn't joking when I was all giddy when I connected that first belt to a biogenerator and let it feed itself. It felt so liberating. And so I am determined to run on biofuel throughout this entire first project. Also, I want to mention real quick, something I imagine some of the viewers noticed in the previous episode, which was that the video quality wasn't quite as good as it usually is. And unfortunately, this is something I didn't notice until after I had already fully edited and rendered that video. You see, there was some kind of problem, not with the game running, but with the recording process. Now, I'm not entirely sure what caused it, but I did a little bit of tweaking and I made sure I had more resources cleared up in the background. And early tests since then appear to no longer have that screen tearing. So hopefully that problem is fixed, and I do apologize for what I consider to be kind of a subpar quality visually in the previous episode. And hopefully we won't run into that in the future. But if we do, please be patient with me as I run down what the problem is and I get it resolved. All right, we've wasted enough time on the intro running around collecting up fuel. Let's head back to the hub and start laying out the foundations for our first residential neighborhood. Now, before we can actually get started on building our neighborhood, or at least, laying out the foundations and defining its parameters, we need to get a few other things taken care of. Because, well, there's stuff that we need that are going to be useful later on in the project. We are stocked up on fuel now. And we might as well take care of them first. And first thing I can really think of that I want to get done is the Caterium. We need to get our Mark II poles unlocked. And it's going to be behind this right here. We're going to clean up our inventory. Oh, and we picked up a summer sloop while running around and getting fuel. Let's alien technology. Yes. Knock that out. Now we just need some SAM ore. We'll find that eventually. But anyway, I'm just totally over these Mark I poles. They are just the worst. And the sooner we can get to Mark II poles, the better. So that's what we're going to start with focusing on. We're also going to need Tier 2 logistics. So let's actually check and see if we have the materials for all of this. And knock this out first because the Caterium node is pure and we're going to need a Mark II belt for that. So let's see here. Oh, we actually have enough of the reinforced plate on us. Now we are creating reinforced plate at an abysmally slow pace. So that's kind of a precious resource. Let's get the other things here. So we're not going to be able to do a whole lot with these belts for now. It's not like we can run a Mark II belt across the map because we do need the reinforced plate for it. Look here. Logistics, conveyors, yeah. Reinforced iron plate. And let's look at our meager, and I do mean meager, stockpile of it. And the reason why it's so meager is because, as you can see, we are not feeding a whole lot of screws to it. And that's because we only have one machine doing all of that work. So, see, it's only running at 25%. But that's okay. If we had it running at full pace, it would be consuming 30 iron plate per minute. And we're only producing 20 iron plate per minute. And that's why I really don't want it running at full speed, because we need the regular iron plate more than we need the reinforced iron plate. But I want to start that run to the Caterium node and get power run to it, and maybe some belting here, and maybe we'll do a smelter on site just to condense some of the material. and start getting some of it flowing back here, at least for now. We just need to be able to get enough quick wire coming in regularly to be able to create Mark II power poles as we need them. We're also going to want to put some hard drives into the MAM so that we can try to get some early game unlocks that might be useful for the stuff that we're doing now, because if we wait too long to get some of those hard drives processed, then we'll have a wider pool of possible recipes that we can find that we're not necessarily ready for. Hey, look. Oh, we got lucky. Only takes one modular frame. Dun dun dun! First hard drive! Also, there is a nice new feature in 1.1, which is we can dismantle these. Haha, look at that. Nice. Oh yeah, sweet. Look at all the materials we're getting. Excellent. And we'll no longer have to look at these crash sites. Very good. And we'll just run power poles all the way back and come back with the material that we need in order to actually run conveyor belts. All right, I think we can probably drop our smelter right here. And those are Mark I belts at the moment, but we can swing back right over there and upgrade them in a minute. I just want to take a look at this ratio. Yeah, see, Caterium ore is 3:1. So let's take a quick look at the production rate. Yeah, 120 per minute. So if we reduce that by 3:1, then we're only going to have 40 per minute going down the belt. So let's upgrade this to Mark II. Mark II. And Mark II. And let's actually put this on a foundation. Now again, this is temporary. I don't want to have the smelter just kind of floating around out here, but it's the best we can do for now, because there's no way we can convey all of that stuff across the map. We just do not have the material for it. Actually, we need more smelters in order to take up the 120. 3 of these bad boys. All right, we're gonna just high speed this run all the way back. And that was taking entirely too long. There's a lot of, stopping and starting, stopping and starting. So I just cut out the high speed. All right, 12 ingots per minute. We are producing way, 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 way more than that. But you know what? I don't know that we're gonna bother with actually consuming all of it, considering that we're getting ready to, move all of it once we get the neighborhood up and running. Maybe we'll go bold and we'll get a second one. Again, the reason why we wouldn't want to do all of this is because power is definitely limited. Let's put that right here. Here, get you there. You guys can get your own power pole. We can crash the network on any given one of these, and probably will. Clear? No, it's clipping. No. We will not have any of that. So, let's see. Some shenanigans here. Line it up. That'll connect. Yeah, it looks like they're just nudging, but you know what? We'll live with it. Okay. debating whether or not I'm just going to leave the material in there. What do I think we're going to... Well, no. I was going to say we could just merge the output onto here and use that storage, but that storage is being used for other things. So I guess we'll just make another storage. Let's put it down here. Is that actually lined up? I guess it is. All right. We don't actually need that. Grab that. Ooh, perfect. Oh yeah. Okay. So a merger up here. I'm expecting the network to crash any moment. So shy on space. They'll each be producing 60 per minute, so we need a Mark II belt, an output. Excellent. So this is going to give us what we need to do the research of the MAM. We are pushing our luck on our production. We might need to shut something down. But give me a minute here. I'm going to wait for some of things to produce, and then we're going to run over and toss them in the MAM. You know, actually, while we are waiting for the quick wire, we could toss down an awesome shot, even though we don't have any tickets yet, and start to kind of map out, you know, what are we going to need. Whew, okay. Customizer. Ooh, asphalt's going to take 4. Concrete's going to take 3. We need 7 there. We're going to want concrete walls. You know, we could probably do without concrete foundations for now. Let's look at the cart. Get rid of that. We're going to want some decals, specifically the dotted lines, because we're going to need streets. Currently we can't get the roofs because we don't have the technologies yet. We're going to need conveyor lift hole. And very soon we're going to need the wall power outlet Mark II once we unlock the Mark II power pole. We're also going to want these and maybe this. This is new to 1.1. Anything else we distinctly need for this? Probably roofs. We're going to need some fencing for the yards. Go ahead and throw that down there. Yeah, I think that we're going to miss out on some of the stuff that we want early on, and we'll just have to come back for them later. Currently, we're looking at 39 tickets, and we do not have any kind of ticket income at the moment. But we'll solve that once we start ramping up our production. I did, by the way, have to shut some things down. I did blow a fuse. All right, Caterium research. Let's do this. Ah, there it is. The Mark II pole. Oh, I hope it doesn't require anything that we can't make yet. So let's take a look. Nope, that's everything we make. Excellent. Oh yeah. We're going to immediately replace that Mark I pole on the hotbar with the Mark II pole. And we will use Mark II poles pretty much exclusively. But let's figure out something that we can throw into a sink so that we can slowly start generating some tickets while we start to map out our starting boundaries for the neighborhood. Actually, while we've got tickets starting, we need to do something else, which is start scanning hard drives. Now, this used to take like 10 minutes. Is it still 10 minutes? It is still 10 minutes. Okay. All right, well, we'll let that go. This is just terrible. I put a splitter on some of the concrete. I don't want it to lose half the concrete, so this will be like a quarter of the concrete. Maybe an eighth, I don't know, I didn't do the math. But that's going over and to a merger here, and half of our cables that are being produced will go into a sink as well. You can see we have plenty of cables already. Now, this is not going to get us to the numbers that we want, especially if we don't turn this on. What is going on here? Why is this not turning on? This is, no power. This is a pole not plugged. Oh, it's not plugged into anything. I forgot. I disconnected that. Okay, yeah. Got it. A long time ago, I disconnected the crystal. Oh, good grief. I didn't expect that to happen. I added another power generator, so I thought we were in the clear. Oh, where does that put us? 179. Holy cow. How much does this take? All right, let me do some finagling here. Give me a second. All right, I've raised our capacity up to 180, and I figured out that it was 30, so it should be 179 once I reconnect this. Okay, we have 1 megawatt to work with. Oh, good grief. Yeah, we gotta get this neighborhood up and running, because we're gonna industrialize, our power intake as well, with a lot more of these. And we're gonna mostly be split between iron plates and iron rods, because those are the only things that are ingot straight to a thing. At least until we can hopefully get the hard drive for the iron screws, where we can eliminate rods entirely from the recipe. Actually, I was doing the math, and our 10 minutes passed. We gotta go check on that hard drive. Come on, iron screws. So I know they changed this, where we can pick between 2 things, or flush them for 2 new things. We're definitely not going to use this anytime soon. Inventory slots is great, but we need recipes, so we're going to rescan. Cast screws! There it is! Oh my god, we got it on the first try. Oh, iron ingots straight to screws. This is the same ratio as if we were to create rods first. It just takes an extra constructor straight out of the loop. And I like this recipe a lot too, but this, one of my favorite recipes in the game. Yeah. That's it. That's perfect. Okay, so here we are in the middle of the grasslands, and what we're going to want to do is kind of establish the height at which we want to build. Because we're going to want to have a bit of a false floor under the neighborhood so that we can get some belts running between the different houses without always having everything outside in the open. But we also want to be able to keep it kind of close to the ground so it doesn't look too weird. So what we're going to do here is I've picked this spot because you can see there are a little bit of dips and hills going up and down. And this feels like this hill here is kind of a high point. What we're going to do is we're going to establish a location by snapping the grid, and we're going to vertical zoop. I think we can do something like that. Now, can we jump up here? All right, that's probably the highest that we can jump up to. We can't make that jump. We cannot. All right. So this is going to be a good starting point. Go to regular zoop. You see there's a curve mode. That's a mod I have. I haven't used it yet. But I think that maybe we can take advantage of it here in the future. Just come on, up here. Oh, why did it detach? Okay. So what we're going to want to be able to do is make sure this is going to be a decent plane. And we're not just going to build right here. This is going to be probably a fairly large neighborhood. And, you know, it might be more than one street. Well, we'll see how it goes. I have a rough idea of how many machines that we're probably going to use for the iron, but we're also going to incorporate some quick wire and copper. And we'll probably want to have maybe a larger house or two to house assemblers. And I don't know what we're going to do for power. I don't think we're going to put those in houses because we're just going to pick them back up once we go to coal anyway. But we'll need a spot for them. But let's check underneath. This is going to be our, clearance. It's going to be nice. If we can run around, that's good. We're also going to need to be able to do a second layer underneath. Sometimes we'll need to have some depth. We can, as long as we can, crawl under those. Yeah, this is a pretty good. Can we still make it from here? No, that's okay. Again, on the hills we'll be able to. And eventually we won't need to jump up here, so that won't be too much of an issue. But like we're gonna need to be able to do these underlayers for when we do roads. Because if you watched the preview episode, the episode 0, we talked about how we're gonna have conveyors going down roads, just like this. And so we need to have that underlayer to be able to sink the conveyors into the roads. And if you didn't catch that, this will all make sense a little bit later on. But I'm not gonna waste too much time here explaining it for now. Again, you can go back and watch the episode 0 if you haven't seen it. But it will all start to make sense. But we're going to do a kind of a mock-up of a house, get ourselves a little bit an idea of how many squares of foundation that we're going to standardize for a house. And the houses will be a little bit different here and there. But having a standard size is going to allow us to, just kind of do the math of how much space is it going to take for one house, how much area we're going to have for a yard, and then just look at how many machines we're going to have, and we'll know how much space we need. That's pretty simple. And this really is like, we have just ridiculous amounts of space that we can work with. They can go all the way out here. We can take up all of this space. We can go all across around there. Obviously, we're going to want to stay away from the fart rocks for now, but those now can be blown up. So once we have obelisks, we can clear those out and we can utilize that space as well. So we got a lot of room to work with. And unfortunately, I can't do time lapses still because of the mod, but I'll just bring you back in here when I have an idea of how I want to do this, and we'll walk you through how that's going to work. All right, I think this is going to be a pretty decent generic outline for the houses. And again, it's going to look a lot better once we have better materials to work with. But let's go to Skycam here. Disconnect. All right. Now this would be a 6x6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's fairly easy for us to do the math on that. I think that we would want to do a 2 wide road. Now the road itself would only be 1 wide. But once we have half slabs, we can do a half slab for like a sidewalk. And then we can do a normal road right down the middle, a normal size full block. And then another half slab. And then another 6x6 on the other side, so we can have both sides of the neighborhood. And we can vary things up as we go. Houses can look a little different. Not all of them will necessarily have a garage. Maybe they'll have a carport. Maybe they won't have anything, just a driveway, Who knows? But that's the point, is that we have the ability to kind of flex between them, and we can fit a couple machines fairly comfortably in here. And this is kind of how it would work, right? So here's a couple of smelters, and we'd probably have a bunch of houses in a row that are all smelters, and that would just be linked probably under the ground, and that's all we need. And what we'd have is the product coming out and running down the road. It's you wait until you see it. If you didn't see the first video, wait till you see it. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And again, it's gonna be pretty basic at the beginning until we can come back and revisit this after we get enough unlocks to be able to get the nicer looking walls and the windows and the doors and all the other things that we can do. But for now, we need functionality more than we need form, but we want to also make sure we have the form in place so we don't have to come back and rebuild everything from scratch. So I'm just going to start drawing out the neighborhood. All right, so it's been, it's actually been a few hours. It's taken me a little bit longer than I expected, just flushing out a concept. Sometimes it takes time, and seeing how it's going to work and then tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And I think I got it down pretty well to where I can show you what the real concept is and how it's going to play out. Now, before I reveal anything, it's extremely bare bones. We still got to unlock a bunch of stuff, and just a lot more just a ridiculous ton of stuff needs to be done. But the logistics behind it has been worked out, and I think I can accurately show you the general concept of what we're going to do with the residential neighborhood. First thing though, we need to do some very critical unlocks. Let's get 18, all right. All right. I went through and stripped down our ticket needs to just the ones that we most have to have just for the basic stuff. So we have 16 here. We need the asphalt foundations because we need them for roads. Conveyor lift floor holes because we're going to do a lot of lifts going under the flooring. Wall holes, definitely need those. We want doors. We're going to need half foundation sets for the sidewalks and the wall power outlets. This is where I'm going to consider the bare minimum for what we're trying to just kind of get going here. There's a lot more I want, but I'm just going to go with those for now. All right, let's see here, the foundations. Asphalt should just be concrete. Yes, it is. Excellent. Good. All right, let's put these away. Let's grab some more concrete. I've got a bunch of things shut down because we're about to draw a bunch of power, and we're not even close to the amount of power we're going to be drawing. But I needed to conserve some fuel, and I don't want this to shut down when we're, displaying the concept. A lot of what's going to go on for this season is going to be representative of a population going about their living day, their work day, and just having a kind of a metaphor for a populated world. And we're going to do that largely by showing product going down roads and being transported in other ways. So we're going to first off see the raw material coming up and down the road, just to represent the raw material being transported to be used. And now we have our new foundation types. We're going to need to switch. Asphalt. All right, okay, there we go. And this, of course, will be our roads. Now this actually might end up being a dirt road. In fact, I think this is going to be a dirt road, so I probably didn't need asphalt for it. But just humor me. We can go back later and like grab these and customizer, kind of a dirt road. That's not going to be good. Let's. Do I have any of my browns? I didn't import any browns. Okay, let's lighten this up. Get a nice dirty brown, like it's a dirt road. And again, later on, this will all be replaced with the plastic foundations, which are our coated foundations. And they're you know, kind of featureless and they color real well. But imagine this is a dirt road, and then we're coming up to a paved road, which would be right here. But what we need, because we did 2 lanes here, you can see how this is looking. We need the half slabs. So let's remove the filters entirely. Half foundations. And this will be like sidewalks, and we can like paint them gray, or just, I guess, leave them gray because that's the way they are already. And we will have our asphalt for actual road. We can do it right there. We'll do a half one there. But this will allow us to offset the road. Okay, that don't look right. Nope, we don't want the half slab. We want the full slab. Thank you. There we go. Perfect. This is somebody's driveway. Someone doesn't have a garage. Get the half slab for the asphalt. And we'll get a sky view here in a second. We'll detach the cam and show what's going on here. But I want to have the visual representation kind of in place. So we just unlocked them. Perfect. This is going to look beautiful. Trust me, this is going to make sense. Oh, nope, that's not right. There we go. All right, so let's go and detach our camera here. Decouple. Now again, we got a long way to go with the appearance of it. The houses aren't built, but the machinery is in place. So what's going to happen is we're going to have slow-moving raw material going down the road, in this case the dirt road. And we're going to have ingots, and of course all these houses, these 3 houses, are all producing ingots. We just need one house to represent what's going on. And again, this is kind of the idea that the workers control the means of production. Now again, we're not getting into Marxism and philosophy. It's just the idea that this is manpower probably on its way to work because it's coming out of the residential neighborhood. We can think of the raw material as what they're bringing into the home, like maybe groceries. And as the ingots make their way down the road, they're going to find their way into another house. And out comes the production from this house. And that's going to go on down the road, and eventually we'll have train stations. They'll carry everything to other locations or to our warehouse once we have one. And this is going to look much better once we have, you know, all the sidewalks in and all the, you know, houses with walls and roofs. But I think you get the idea of how this is going to play out. I hope that this is an adequate illustration of what we have planned. All right, so we've made a lot of progress today, but we got to wrap it up here. I feel like we met our goals. We got our quick wire up and running, got our Mark II poles unlocked. We had a few key things unlocked in the Awesome Shop. We've defined our goals for the neighborhood, and we've worked out the methodology for getting to it. So I really hope that you're enjoying this. I feel like it's a different take on Satisfactory and the story that we're trying to tell with the entire series, rather than just building a bunch of cool looking buildings that aren't necessarily related. We've got a long way to go, and I hope you'll keep coming back to see it through. But you know the outro shtick. Leave a like, leave a comment, consider joining the community Discord, consider subscribing if you haven't. But whatever you do, I hope to see you in the next episode, and thank you so much for coming out. If you enjoyed this, you may want to check out one of these other videos, and thank you very much for your time.